Oh, there you are, Michael. Hey, Mike.
All right, everybody, it is that time. As always, it is Wednesday night. It is time for the Metal Summit. The first half of the week is dead and gone. The rest of the week, the weekend, starts right now with us. We are your island of misfit toys. As always, we've got Jason, we've got the Psycho Steve, Angel Alamo, we've got Bobby Dreyer. I'm Jay. We always appreciate you guys tuning in with us, as always, each and every week. But we've got this guy, man, albums galore, like 15 albums currently with Kxm. We've got albums with Kxm, solo albums, so much to talk about. We are joined right now with dUg Pinnick. How are you, brother?
Hey.
Right on,
hello,
man.
hello,
Absolutely. Hello. We're doing good, man. We are doing good. We are very, very grateful and privileged to have you join us. And I wanted to pretty much just kind of jump right into it because it was something that you were talking with us off the air that I think is actually a pretty good segment to jump into. You know, 2020 kind of is almost the year where music felt erased. And you were talking with us a little bit about what exactly Kxm has going on right now. And you were actually kind of clarifying some current dates that people were thinking were live, but actually aren't live because you and the guys want to take everybody's health into consideration and make sure that everything's going, you know, correctly and working out well for you guys. So talk a little bit about what you've got going on right now and the status of Kxm.
Well, first of all, you know, since Jerry had his issues, you know, we don't want to go out anywhere and do anything, you know, because we don't want to risk Jerry and his situation, and Ty totally agrees. And so we didn't want to make any decisions or put any dates down or even book any shows until we knew exactly what was going on. And I mean, the biggest thing happened before when the pandemic hit. Everybody had to cancel their shows. I mean, and just all the bands all across the world did. And, you know, some of us bands who had already booked these tours, paid advances, you know, a lot of things go on when you have to tour. And then all of a sudden it gets cut down. Well, we lost a hell of a lot of money and we had to stop. And so we couldn't do anything but do what everyone else did, is just plan for whatever, you know, because we didn't know what was going to happen. So it kind of stopped everything. And even the record, it's kind of stopped. But Michael just started mixing again. We've got like 7 songs mixed, and we got like 7 or 10 more to go. I'm not sure anymore. But the thing is, we just want to pick a time and put this record out right. And we don't want to rush it, and we don't want it to be another record. The biggest problem I have with most of my favorite bands, and I just have to say it, is that they'll put a couple great records out, and then as they get older, the records start to suck. And then by the time they're old, the records are just like rehashes of the same thing with no heart. They probably have a whole lot of money in their lives. They're just okay or whatever. But I never wanted to do that. If we have done that, I'll kill myself. But I really try real hard to keep pushing forward and putting something fresh in the pot and having something to be inspired by. And this record, for me personally, it's a really inspired record. Everything that I wrote on this record, I was inspired by. It wasn't, I just sat down and said, I got to write a song. I don't know where they came from, even in part in my mind, because they just were songs I'd written in the last 2 years. So this is a lot of real stuff from our hearts. And this is what Kxm fans really get out of our music. So, you know, I'm excited that we can connect in an emotional way again. You know, I think in the past, because of things all of us go through emotionally, you know, some of our records didn't have as much heart as others. But this one, we bled on this record, and so we hope everybody likes it.
Absolutely, for sure. And we're definitely with your brother.
And as for release date, there is none set yet. It'll be a while. Sure, it really will. Yeah.
Hey, no problem, man. Well, we're all about it, man. You know, keep us in the loop. We'll keep feeding it out there, man. We're definitely all about people staying behind you and getting those records out and stuff like that, because The fact of the matter is, everybody, as all the fans of this show knows, and we pitch it, and we're all firm believers of that, you know, there's nothing that you can do to help a band more than push, promote, and buy the music, buy a t-shirt, buy a hoodie.
Yep.
Speaking of people that we want to buy, I think we need to bring in Bobby Dreyer early in this episode.
And that's the last thing I am is buy.
I said, speaking of people we want to buy.
Well,
yeah.
Look,
Trust me, Bobby. I would like nothing more to have a little one of you
So,
that I can
Doug,
just pull
you
out of
and
my
I-
pocket.
yeah, Dougie and I go back 37 effing years.
Yeah.
Wow. Phil Keggy, flip side. You and oh my God, you and Jerry playing on Keggy's album.
Yeah, it was before there was a King's X.
And then Ty coming in and playing with Greg X Foles, who was with Petra. Yeah. So you and I met. The first show was in Philadelphia at the TLA. You were doing Gretchen. Wow. Think about that shit.
Yeah. We were young.
Like, dude.
We were young and cute.
Yeah, well, I like to use the word young, dumb, and full of glue.
Yeah, that too.
Gorilla Glue?
Gorilla Glue.
You can stick to anything. But Dougie, so over the last year, I went through a lot of shit. Big things.
Yeah.
You were a great help on a lot of things with me losing my mom. You lost your mom.
Always be there.
In New Jersey years ago, when I came out, it was the hardest thing in the world. You did it in '98. Were you afraid?
Nah.
What made it come? And I'm not saying it on that end, but look, dude.
You want to know why I came out? It was because I sang and believed in honesty to the point of losing everything, being honest about everything, what you did, who you are. And I thought to myself, I'm gay and I'm not being honest with anybody about it. And so I just kind of said, I'll just tell this magazine and keep on going, because to me, it didn't matter anyway. You know, earlier before, I had a big problem with it, just like every gay person is Christian, just about, you know, the self-hate, the rejection, the way the Black community treats gay people, the whole thing. You know, I wasn't gonna let anybody know. You know, I did everything I could to conceal that, even not even going out with gay people or go to bars. You know, I didn't do anything. I just didn't want to. It was, to slow down, it was like the thing that would break everything I hated about myself. That thing was the thing that would kill me if I let anybody know. And what happened was, one time Jerry and Ty found out a couple of years into our career, and everybody in the band left except them. The manager, the road crew, sound man. They said the Lord didn't want them to be in the band anymore. And Ty and Jerry stayed. And from that point on, we stayed together. They are my best friends. And that was the day that I realized I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks, as long as I'm honest with myself. And so, you know, that's where it is. And I never went out to preach it. I don't go out talking about it. I don't go to, you know, I'm not a spokesperson for gay musicians. I'm just me. Take it or leave it. And that's where it'll always be.
Well, brother, you helped me a lot, and I have a lot of friends who realize. And look, 37 years, you helped me so much. There's been a lot of times where I just wanted to throw it in. Halford felt the same way. And
yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, and look, it's a music we love, but the community goes, I'm going, really?
Well,
Doug, thank you.
you know, I look at it this way. Just be who you are and let them judge you because of who you are and what they see you do. Other than that, you can't do anything other than that. And if people see who you really are, then they'll respect you. If they're dumb enough and they can't see it, then they'll never will. And you can't get in their face and try to convince them it doesn't matter.
Well, thank you, Doug. All right.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Actually, on a quick follow-up, piggyback off of that, just because I think it's kind of important since you're being so cool with that topic. How long after you made the announcement did you feel that you had become like accepted in like the rock and metal community? Or do you feel like you're still kind of getting that even in 2021?
Well, in the rock community, amongst the musicians and the bands that I know and all that stuff, they don't give a fuck. They never ever did. And in fact, they didn't understand why I had such a problem with it back in the day. I remember hanging out with Dimebag going, dude, I don't give a fuck if you're gay. What's the problem? Blah, blah. You know, Rex, you know, Phil used to kiss me on the lips and go, I love you, man. You know, and it's like Chris Cornell, every time he saw him, he kissed me on the lips. You know, nobody gave a fuck. You know, everybody was in their own thing, you know. So that was never, ever a problem. And it was never, ever a problem in the regular community. And not like with Halford, because Halford was huge. And he just came out and said, I'm gay. And it was all over the front news. I kind of slipped it out in a little Christian magazine that hardly anybody read but Christians. And I knew that that's really the only people that would read it, and they would go, "Oh
I'm like
no!"
sitting there, Dougie. I'm like, "Oh my God!"
I would say
coming out, and I'm going, "Oh, I'm not the only one."
Yeah, but I knew. But the thing is, I didn't do it to help anybody. I do it because I am who I am, and if something that I do helps you along the way, then yes, that is my purpose. Just like people who have helped me indirectly through my life. You know, people can say lots of things to each other and the words mean something else to other people and can change their lives. And that other person doesn't know he said that. But something in the spirit of who we are, the connection happens. You know, it's such a beautiful thing because most of us don't know what we're doing until somebody tells us years later. A guy came up to me and said, dude, can I tell you something? And I'm going, oh, man, I'm tired. I just got done playing. I was sweating. And well, just let me go hang on. And so I went and did my thing, came back. He came into me again. He says, dude, about a half hour later, and I'm going, shoot, I guess I better talk to him. I said, dude, what's up? He goes, dude, I just want to tell you, my wife put the gun down when she heard Summerland and me and my son, thank you. And he hugged me. You know, we don't know what the fuck we do, but you gotta trust that that's happening if you're living an honest to God fucking honest life. That's what you gotta do. I'm drunk right now.
No,
you're not.
Not a problem at all.
Sorry, I start preaching when I get all riled up. Anyway,
hey, no, this is a show built on positivity, man. There's
awesome.
not a message that you can send out that people aren't going to appreciate, especially on our platform. Psycho Steve, man, let's kick it over to you, my bro.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay, so I'm just going to go right in balls deep. Here we go. Ready? You're 70 years old. What is your diet regimen? Because I just joined a gym like 2 weeks ago and I get winded when they run my credit. So I need to know, what the hell do you do to look so damn good?
Well, I have to say it has a lot to do with genetics. It runs in my family. Many of my relatives are my size and they don't do anything. They're just not toned. But what I learned, and I always tell people, this is a lifetime thing they have to do. I guess I was just vain enough to believe that I didn't want to get old and rickety like the old people that I saw. When I was around 21 years old, I thought, I don't want to be like that. And the first thing I heard was, don't eat salt and don't eat sugar. And I'm going, oh, something about diet. And so from that day on, I started thinking about reading up on things, because all we knew was salt and sugar was bad for you. Then we realized, oh, organic food, because there's things in the food that you're eating. This is the early 70s. So we didn't know, we didn't have all this shit going on now. But what I did was I paid attention and read everything that I could for the last 40 years on how to keep your body where it should be optimally. And I got it down to a science for myself personally. It's not a lot of hard work. It's just a habit. I mean, I've been doing 25 sit-ups and push-ups for the last 50 years every day. It just up, and you're gone. It takes 5 seconds. But as for food and things like that, you know, I've got that down to eating the foods that you can get the most nutrition out of, and that's best for your body and is organic. And so you don't have to eat so much, and just learning to tell my body that it's not starving, and that you're going to eat and you're going to be okay. I don't starve myself at all. I eat everything that I want to. I've learned to cook food that's still fucking good. My roommates just they moan and groan because I love to cook. And people always say that if you're a vegetarian, if you're a holistic, or you're into health foods, and I'm not a vegetarian, but if you're into all that stuff, the food tastes like crap. But dude, I tell you what, I eat everything. I eat pork, I eat whatever I want to. I have a little high blood pressure, and other than that, at 70 years old, I have no problems at all in my body. And the doctor says I'm A-okay. I don't take vitamins. I used to. But I read up on vitamins. After a while, they say that they really don't do any good and maybe harm you. So I only eat herbs, natural things. Even if I have a problem, like, you know, I was having problems with prostate. I thought, you know, I was getting up and peeing every night. And the doctor gave me pills. And all of a sudden, it's like I get up in the middle of the night and I can't pee. And it's like I'm staring there and it hurts. You know, I'm going, I don't fuck these pills. And so I threw them away, and I've been taking a few herbs like horny goat weed and a couple other things it's called, and it went away. You know,
there's a lot of horny goat weed.
Oh, I love horny goat weed, but it's not, well, it does help that too, but but I don't know, I'm just babbling now. But there's just so many things that you do to keep yourself down, and it's not exercising, because what people do is they work out so much that you gotta, let me backtrack a little bit. What I do every morning is I pull up just straight up disco that's fun, and I play it for a half hour and just like walk back and forth and just like I'm almost dancing, and I start sweating, and I just do that for a half hour, and that's my aerobics, I call it. And it's not hard, but I tell you what, I look forward to it every day now, and I can get through the day and I don't get burnt out and tired. And I just started this about 2 months ago. I never did that before. I used to just lift weights and do things like that. And now I've been working on cardio. I get on my bike and ride around for a while, but it's boring riding around this neighborhood. I don't know. I've always, and playing in a band, I think helps, because when I play, you know, that's cardio right there all the time. It's just yelling and screaming like I do and put my heart into it. I'm sweating by the time the song starts. And I miss that now, since we haven't been on the road. I think I gained like 5 pounds, and I'm not liking that.
Dude, we're gonna have to set up a Doug versus Steve cook-off, since he's the
I would
chef
love
of this
to.
show.
Oh, dude, we need to talk. Okay, I got some good stuff. We can talk. I got some Cajun shit too. Oh yeah.
Do some grits.
I'm talking like I love to make like a gumbo.
Right on.
I love gumbo, and living down in Texas, I learned how to make it right. Everywhere I go, it doesn't taste right. You know, there's something about the water down there. You know, I guess, and just stuff like Chicago barbecue. You know, not Texas. I hate Texas barbecue.
I know.
Really? You take the meat, you barbecue it, and then you pile it on top of each other, and then you give somebody some like ketchup-y kind of paste and put on it, and this is a barbecue sauce. Up in Chicago, we take them ribs and cook them, and we put that thick barbecue sauce and burn it on that meat and keep turning it over till there's this thick crust of barbecue sauce on top of it. Oh, man, it's so good. You ain't never tasted barbecue like my relatives used to make. Woo.
Oh, man, that's awesome for sure. Jason, sir, it is that time for you, my man. Let's bring you in.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, what's up, Doug?
Dougie, he's gonna scare you. I'm like, he is so white milk toast. You're like, you just freaked him out the whole night.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. Well,
Boo.
Dude, come on.
let's hear it from you, bro.
Jesus.
What's up?
Jesus Christ, Bobby! Since when did the name of this show turn into the Metal Sellout?
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
Woo.
So Doug,
And I don't even have my wig on.
Where are you at anyway? Let me find you.
I'm over here.
Got Psycho Steve finally fucking drinking on the show.
Yay.
Over
You're
here.
bringing the Manischewitz.
Exactly.
All right.
I guess.
So Doug.
Yeah.
So I understand that growing up you were a part of a very religious family and did like gospel music, and my question is how and why did you make the transition to the like hard rock and metal scene? And was there support from your family?
First off, in my mom's family, which I grew up in, no one played an instrument. No one played music. Everybody had a record player, pretty much. I had 10 great aunts and uncles, and they all had kids, and they all had record players. And my great grandmother raised me, and she did not allow any music in the house but gospel music. And she did not have a record player. The only time I heard music in my grandma's house was when my aunt would come by with a record player. And she only had a song by Mahalia Jackson, Move On Up a Little Higher, and another song by the Staple Singers. And these are 78 records. And those are the first two gospel songs I ever heard. And it stuck with me, the emotion. Everything else I heard from my relatives' houses when I'd go by was nothing but blues and rock and roll. And I, as a kid, there was no filter. I loved everything, and it didn't matter what it was. I incorporated it all into what I loved, from show tunes in grade school, even and opera songs, and anything, classical music that was aggressive, anything that jumped out and moved me, I loved and I embraced. I was out in the school choir all the time, and I sang all the time wherever I was at. I was always singing. So music was a thing that I just did. And when you put yourself out there, I guess people start pushing you to where you need to go. Because I never thought, I'm going to be a singer. I never thought I want to do this for a living. It was just that from the time I was 3 or 4 years old, I remember a lady came up to me after I had sang something, and she was crying, and she put her hand on my shoulders. She had to get on her knees. And she put her hand on my shoulders because I was so little. And she cried, and she started praying in tongues. And then she said, God, make this boy a leader. He has a special blah, blah, blah. And I remember looking up around her face like, why is she saying this? And I want to go outside and play. And since then, there's always been somebody in my life going, Dougie, why don't you go do this? Or Dougie, why don't you be in this or do this? And I would just do it. Even in a rock band, a friend of mine said, Doug, want to sing in a rock band? I'm going, man, I can't sing. Fuck that. He goes, no, man, you can. Come on, try it out. I mean, I really didn't think about it. I was one of these really one-track minded kids who didn't see anything. Well, basically, I was obsessed with music and singing, and I didn't care. I would go to anybody's house and sit down in front of their stereo and listen to the music. Everybody else would be playing, doing whatever. Even as a teenager, after I grew up, even going to my friend's house, getting high, I'd always be sitting in the living room listening to music. I'd bring records with me. It was just what I did. And and at 70 years old, it's still kind of what I'm doing.
Wow.
It's really weird. The journey, I can look at it going, I can see all the little things that happened that got me here. But at the time, none of it was planned, to the point of when I was at times when I was fucking up, someone out of nowhere would throw me up against the wall and go, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like a little kid who's bouncing around out of control, and somebody grabs and says, hey, you know, because that's how out of control I was when it came to me doing what I do. There's always been, thank God, somebody there that guided me. Even when there was nobody there, I feel like there was some kind of something going on. It's just crazy. Yeah. You did ask a question of what made me play rock music. I'll have to tell you this. I was 14 when I first heard I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. And I thought that, you can hear me, can't you?
Yep.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, because something's crackling in there.
Angel,
Can you mute yourself?
Okay. Rock and roll was something that I heard along with gospel music and along with jazz and everything else. So it's not that I turned to rock music. It was more like Black people stopped playing rock music and I didn't. And because I thought rock music, I love rock music, rock and roll music, from Chuck Berry on up to Metallica, you know. No, I'm green. but you know, and the Beatles, for instance, I didn't care about the Beatles at that time because they just sounded like a bunch of white guys playing Black people music, and they weren't that good. They didn't have no soul to me. Later it was when I started to discover the Beatles and really see the genius in them, pretty much maybe after the whole world did. You know, I mean, I just became a Beatle fan about 10 years ago, actually. Before that, I heard so much Beatles growing up and living that I took a whole lot of cool things from the Beatles and put it in what I do.
Interrupt, but you said 10 years, but when the first Kxm album,
that's my point. Let me finish. Let me get to that, Bobby.
All right.
What I'm saying is, you're not listening to me. I was saying that because I heard Beatles so much through my life, I took the cool things from the Beatles and put it in the music that I made. And that's why what I write has so much Beatle influence. Oh. It wasn't that I sat and played Beatle records all day or cried. No. It was just, I heard a harmony. I'm going, that's cool. And it seems to work. And so when I put it in a Kxm song, even Ty's the same way. He loves the Beatles. Oh. We just go, oh, that works. You know what I'm saying? We wear our musical influences on our sleeve. I know I do. You know, I can tell you every riff from everything that I got.
Your version of the Train is so Sergeant Pepper right there.
Ty's really good at that.
Doug, that's a really good line right there that you said. You wear your musical influences on your sleeve.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've never heard that before.
Wow.
We all do. We really all do.
Absolutely.
We all sound like somebody. The thing is, if you get enough people to sound that you like, if you get enough people that you sound like in your musical library, you become more original, because the blend, it's sort of like it becomes your blend of things, and all of a sudden those influences don't stick out because your other influences balance it out, because we all learn from something. Nobody came up with anything, you know.
Absolutely, 100%. Angel, let's bring you in, my good friend. How are all the Metal Summoners doing? And let's hear from some of the members of King's X's Court.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. They're all enjoying the show. They're all out here. So thank you, everybody, for watching.
Hi.
I got a couple of good questions from Brian. Brian wants to know what has changed socially and musically in the music scene since you came out, and what has it?
Socially and musically, since I came out, socially, I think mm, you know, I think socially it's become more open-minded because at my age, I can still, not can still, it seems like I have more fun hanging out with 20 somethings and 30 somethings because they love the
What
music
about
that I
the
love.
50 somethings?
Bobby, shut the fuck up. Because
told you, Queen.
and the reason why is because I'm amazed at how, like, you get in a van with three 21-year-olds that you're producing a record and they put on Black Sabbath's first record. And I go, whoa, because they sound like a punk band. Okay. Nothing like Black Sabbath. And I go, dude, you guys listen to Black Sabbath? And they go, dude, we got to have Ozzy. I mean, it's like what I love about them is if it's good, they listen to it. They love it. They're not like I was when I was a kid. Remember, I can't say I was, but our generation, my generation, anything our parents did, we hated. It seems it's flipped now because these 20s and 30 somethings look up to us, people who are 60s and 70 and 80, because they're playing our music that we did when we were their age, when it meant something to us and it means something to them. And it's like so cool to see that they're still there, those kids. Those kids that you watch these videos of and they can play every instrument and they're just amazing. It's like we were all those kids. They just got they've got the internet and all this stuff that they can do this with. We didn't have that. If I had a keyboard and drums and a tutorial and all that shit, it's like nowadays kids have so much great music and great things to choose to learn that I love it when they get what we've done back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, when they get it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Cool. And his other question is, what's a musical influence that you have that would surprise us?
Whew. I mean, I've told my musical influences a lot of people, but I'll say this: there's a group called the Andrews Sisters. They used to sing a song called "He Was a Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy of Company B." I can't say it any faster than that, but they could say it. They could say it 20 times faster in 3-part harmony. That was perfect, and they were sisters. And it was this. He was a boogie woogie boogie boy. It was like that. It was that big time thing. And the voices were so amazing and so right on. They used to give me goosebumps. And if you listen to this song in for a third album, I think it is, "We Were Born to Be Loved," there's the chorus goes, "I can shout from a rooftop how I really feel." That is totally Andrews Sisters. That is how they sang. That's the chords that they used and how they did it. That's one that I don't think anybody know. What else could I think of? Oh God, there's so many. Because everything that I listened to, if there was something in it that I loved, I tried to incorporate it in what I was doing in some way, I think the biggest thing is not a person as much as saxophones were something that I really liked as a teenager. And in grade school, actually, I played a baritone saxophone in grade school in 7th grade for, a year, and that was it. But there was a sound that it got, that it was this great tone, and it was like, and the vibe and the tone, it was so basic bass, and it felt so good. And most of the songs I write to this day have that sensibility of, if this is a baritone sax playing this riff. It's just the way they played these riffs back then. And or another thing is like Looney Tunes, World Around Me. That is really a Carl Stalin type riff. if you watch Looney Tunes and Bugs Bunny back in this, well, that's what I was doing. And all I could envision is like Porky Pig and Bugs Bunny waving their hat, walking down the street. It was Looney Tunes, and it was the hardest thing about that riff was that was one I made up in my head, and I had to learn how to play it on a bass, and it's virtually almost impossible to play. And when we play it, I literally have to play open notes and the root note at different spots. I had to learn to. You can't. It's not a pattern that you can just naturally have fun with. I mean, most real bass players could probably play it real easy, but it's a very finger twisting riff, and that's the thing about it. But anyway, so Looney Tunes, Carl Stalling. If you
Doug,
ever
who came up with Mojam, then speaking of riff.
Actually, Mojam was. I was trying to play this Lemmy bass line, and Ty started playing this kind of gospel riff, and then Jerry came in with that 4 on the floor kind of. Well, no, it wasn't 4 on the floor, but Jerry came in with that fast riff, which was it was really like a gospel type church kind of beat, and all of a sudden I'm going, wow, this sounds like we're in a black church. And so the verses were, I sing this song for you, you're the story, and it was a praise song basically to God. And that was that. Real quick.
Man, bringing up Looney Tunes, we're not even going to have some of those characters much longer if they don't keep canceling them out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude,
how do I feel about that? It's hard. We become so sensitive.
Yeah.
Have we become so sensitive because now we're all afraid to say anything, and being a black person, being black, I've gotten away. I can get away with saying a lot of things just because of that, and I don't think that's right. I always wanted to. I've never done this yet, and I don't know if I can get away with it, but I wanted to make some T-shirts that says either everybody can say nigger or nobody can. And on the back say, not responsible if you get beat up wearing this T-shirt. But my point is, why is it that everything has to be called racist now when it really never was? There are things that were. Now, like Aunt Jemima. I love Aunt Jemima Pancake. I love the picture. I love the name. I grew up with it. I never felt it was racist. But well, let's take Colonel Sanders down too, because he's a redneck. I don't get it. The Confederate flag, we know the whole story behind that. The Confederate flag wasn't even the flag of the Confederate Army. It was the flag of West Virginia, I think it was. So all that is so crazy anyway, that if everybody really understood the actual history of the Confederate flag, maybe we could come to a better conclusion than to just separate over it. I'm a true believer that the truth always wins if you can prove the truth. But nowadays, the truth doesn't matter, does it?
It's definitely a crazy thing that crazy world that we're in right now.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Angel, keep
on,
buddy.
Cool. We're going to continue on with bass playing questions. Al also has a 2-part question.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's kind of like a musician, so they're always going to ask music-related questions.
Yeah.
He wants to know who were your bass player influences.
Well, first time I ever heard a bass player or bass first time I ever remember hearing bass and going, I want to do that. No, I didn't say I want to do that. All I wanted to hear was that. I was 8 or 9, and it was Why Do Fools Fall in Love by Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. I can still sing you the bass line. And I just thought that bass line was so cool. I mean, the speakers are that big. It was an old 78 record. My cousin had just bought the record and came home with it. She was like, 14, and she would go buy records, and she'd tell everybody, I got a new record, and we'd run over and listen to it. And from that point on, there was something about the bass is what I heard. And in black music back in the day, bass was always the loudest thing. So by the time I got to when I was a teenager, well, there was Motown and Stax Volt music, Booker T and the MGs and all those guys. So the bass was pretty loud in those songs. I mean, some of the Motown songs, the song started out with the bass. You knew what the song was with the bass line. So bass was a very big deal back in my day. And even in rock music in the early years, I mean, Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple, all those bands, bass was glaring. So I always loved bass. Okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. Motown was the first time I started really paying attention to Jamie Jamerson. He's the guy that I went, whoa, those bass lines. And I just memorized them in my head. And then same time there was Chuck Rainey, who played on like Aretha Franklin's album and the Atlantic stuff. And so this is when I was like in my late teens. Okay, so after that, rock and roll, a friend of mine came by one day and gave me Led Zeppelin I was 20 years old. And he gave me a Whole Lot of Love. And I went, wow, that sounds like Booker T and the MGs with no keyboards. I'm in. It was aggressive and it rocked. I wasn't crazy about the singer. He had a little bit of soul, but he was white boy singing. So wasn't too, but there was something that they were doing that really got me, and I felt it, you know. And from that point on, I think I never looked back when it came to rock and roll. But okay, this is 70. Around 73, I used to always say, I want to play bass. Oh, I wish I could play bass. Even as a kid, I would run around the house with a broom, playing like I was playing bass left-handed. Even though and the first time I ever saw a bass, I was in my 20s. So it was coming from a poor child in the ghetto. I didn't even know you could have a bass. I didn't even know really what it was. It was pretty much not in my mind. And one day a guy said to me, I was 22 at the time, and he says, dude, if you love bass so much, why don't you just buy one? He looked at me like, dumbass. And, you know, my dumbass said, oh, I can buy one. I literally was so dumb that I didn't realize that you could get one. I mean, you got to understand, people that live in the ghetto that have grown up with nothing don't think about having anything. And I didn't realize that I was a victim or a product of that, you know. And even at that point, I didn't really know how to get a bass. So a friend of mine came by with a bass that he bought for his girlfriend for Christmas and said, here, play this for a while, and I'll come back and get it in a month for Christmas. And he came back and I wouldn't give it back to him. And that's how I started. And I kept that bass, and he gave up on it. And his name is Denaris Crudup, and he's still a friend of mine. He lives in Sacramento, California, one of my best friends. And then the second bass I got was 2 years later when that bass got stolen. A friend of mine had gotten a car wreck and got a lot of money and bought me my first P bass. And after that, you know, I moved on and kept doing. But it seems like there was always somebody in my life that put something in my hand. I've never really, you know what I'm saying? It's like people just go, oh, you like that? Here. It's really been that way in my life. So that's how I started playing bass. And my favorite bass players are Jamie Jamerson and Willie Weeks. And the other guy who changed everything for me was Chris Squire.
Yes.
If you put on the Roundabout record, put on the Roundabout and the Roundabout record and Close to the Edge, that whole record. If you listen to that whole record, you hear me in everything. You play King's X and you go, God damn it, Doug. I laugh at I put on a Yes album now and laugh at myself and go, Jesus, Doug, you ripped him off hard. You know, but him and John Entwistle had this tone that just changed my life. And from when I heard that clangy tone, that's when everything changed. And I had to find out how they did that. And I couldn't figure it out. Nobody knew. And I remember going to see Yes in Chicago in Comiskey Park, and they were playing with Leonard Skinner. It was Yes, Leonard Skinner, Gary Wright, and Peter Frampton.
Was it the original Leonard Skinner?
Oh yeah, this is 1973.
All right.
Wow.
Or 74, I think it was. And I remember when Yes came on, because whenever I go to a concert, I go early because I wanted to watch the roadies set the equipment up. I wanted to see how they set it up, where they set it up, how they did everything. I was fascinated with all of it. And so I'm just looking on stage what he's playing through, and it was a fucking acoustic bass amp with the blue cover, and a Marshall amp with a 412 cabinet, mic'd on both of them, and two chords coming out, and they went into his Rickenbacker, and I went, that's how he does it. Guitar amp and a bass amp. And from that day on, I never looked back. I went and got I've been using guitar and bass amps until I made the pedal, and that's what the pedal tries to do.
It's funny, Doug. I just want to let me just
Doug, you
chime
don't
in
mean
here real quick.
Wait, let's be a whore. Oh,
Yeah, that's my pedal.
And your amp.
Let me just
got it all. Thank you, Bobby.
Go ahead, Jason.
Doug, let me just chime in here real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
You mentioned that you go to shows and you observe.
Mm-hmm.
I do that too. I find myself.
Awesome.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
No,
I find
also
myself. I go to shows, and yeah, the music, everything is happening, but I actually observe just like you do. You know, I watch everything, how things are going, how things happen, and it's just
the light guy, what the monitor guys are doing, how the roadies are sitting, how they run on stage and run back, all of that. Oh, just so exciting back in the day. Anyway, now it's like I don't give a fuck.
Absolutely. Angel,
that was the second part to that question.
Oh yeah, Angel, stay with us because I'm keeping the segment with you. Doug, I just wanted to let you know, man, dude, you would have loved last week's episode because we had Jeff Pilson on the show, and we had a whole segment literally talking about Yes. So you would have loved that.
Wow, that's my guy.
Absolutely,
I love Jeff. Jeff and I did a little clinic together one time. It was fun, and it's a video up on YouTube somewhere.
Oh, that right on. Angel, keep rolling with it, bro.
Okay. The second part to the question is, when did you discover your unique bass player sound?
I didn't know it was unique. Because I feel like I just sound like the guys that I'm trying to emulate. That's what I hear when I'm playing. I don't hear this sound that I go, oh my God, listen. I'm going, oh man, this reminds me of Yes. And that's how I feel about that, But the thing is, some people are very anal about things and some aren't. Some people are tone freaks and some aren't. Some people are more detailed and some are more sloppy. It's all about who the musician is and what he's trying to do. And one thing that I've always was really obsessed with is tone. Let me tell you a little story real quick on that one. As a child, I would go to my relatives and listen to their record player, and it had a knob. And it had a volume knob, and then there was another knob, and it said treble and bass. And you turned it back and forth to get the right balance. I was at that knob from the time I can remember, turning it, trying to get that right thing. Then all of a sudden, about 2 years later, there's two knobs or three knobs, volume, bass, and treble. And I start moving the treble and the bass around. And if you turn the volume up or down a little bit, you can blend everything and get in this tone that works. So all of a sudden later on, it's like, you got the mid-range. I almost passed out. I've got a record player with four knobs. And then after that, in the 70s, it was graphic equalizers. The first one was a 5-band. And I'm just like going, I can just do this and I can see what I'm doing. And then it moved up. It kept going on and on up till 32 tracks. By the time in the late 90s, I had, 32 EQ band in my car. And I couldn't get to where I was going without re-EQing the fucking song by the time I got there before I could get it to sound like I wanted it. And after that, at that point, I went back to flat and just started to trust this is what people listen to music as. But through that is how I got my tone. My bass tone is unique in the fact that the difference in my tone that is different from other pedals or amps is I've been playing bass with the hugest guitar player around. Okay, his tone is humongous. And I had to learn how to figure out, in a kick drum, I had to figure out how to make my bass wrap around those guys in frequencies so that I don't drown them out and they don't drown me out. And years of playing basically 3,000 watts in 6 SPT cabinets, pretty loud on stage. That's what I used to play with. And Ty had 5 boogie cabinets or 5 stacks. And we were unreal loud, and we in all those frequencies, we learned how to dial them in sonically from things, just the room crushing on us. And because of that, I kind of figured out a way to get that in my pedal. And I found out also that, like, one time I did this has happened in several situations with my pedal and amp. I'll explain real quick. I was doing this thing with Steve Vai and Lemmy's son and Bob Kulick at a Lemmy party one time. And okay, 3 guitar players with Marshalls, right? Man, I got up there with my amp, my dUg amp, which is the same thing. And Matt Soren played drums. And we did a couple songs. And I remember people came up to me because I said, hey, how did my bass sound? And they said, dude, it meshed all the guitars together. And what my bass tone is, it's a little bit lower and a little bit higher, but it doesn't drown guitar out and actually gives it more clarity. And Jeff Ament said the same thing to me. He said, dude, it meshes the guitars together. Because, guitars are scratchy and noisy, and sometimes they get too scratchy where you can't hear what the tone is or what the pitch is. And somehow my bass kind of reinforces that bottom just ever so slightly. And when I've seen people play with my pedal, that's what I feel out front. The bass isn't even that loud, but there's a warmth to the band that pedal can do. So it's a really cool pedal. And the other thing about it is it's designed that you like to play it. It's like if you dial it into what you do, your fingers and your hand, you can do that. You want to go play it more. People tell me that they want to play it. Like when they first started, they're excited. And it's easy. Let me stop here. But basically I'm trying to say is you can find your comfort zone in that pedal. And that's what most people tell me that. Okay.
And here's my question. Stories or memories of your first ever tour?
I think, yeah. Well, no, we never did a tour. Well, wait. After we got signed or before?
Yeah, after
we got signed. Okay, I remember the first tour, we did this real quick tour across the U.S. And the only thing I remember was playing Vegas, and there was 2 people there, and they went crazy. And then we've been friends with them ever since. Other than that, I don't think anybody showed up anywhere we played, and I don't remember hardly any of it. But then we turned around and went out with Hurricane to the same thing. Nobody showed up. And we opened for Hurricane. And I remember their drum set was so big, the cage was so big that we could barely get our amps on stage or monitors, and they would move them. But nobody came to those shows. And then the next tour was with, and this is within a couple months because they just threw us out there. It was a Blue Oyster Cult. That was fun. More people showed up. It was like these clubs where there was no seats, so people were just standing up, and it was a good night. And we've been friends with Blue Oyster Cult since then. But then right after that was AC/DC. And that was like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like, It don't get no bigger than that. We opened, you know, we always say we opened for AC/DC for 6 months. Yeah. But there was maybe 3 places. No, there was one place in America that people were there to watch us. I mean, 15,000 people in an arena, and there was maybe 1,000 people sitting there watching us spread all over the place, maybe clapping. And as soon as we closed off, 15 minutes later, everybody was in that arena. That's what our tour was like. So it wasn't like we got all this exposure. But I remember in Europe, playing in Germany, Angus said that there's a tradition in northern Germany that they really treat the opening band bad for AC/DC. And we went up there and did our thing, and it was one of the worst times we've ever experienced, when you walk on stage and 15,000 people have their backs to you with their middle finger in the air.
Oh, you got
dead silent. And when you start playing, every time there's a break, a Hitler cry of Angus, 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 until you start the next song. And then everything that you can imagine is flying past you. And we did 5 shows like that. Angus said that we were the only band that stuck it out. We did every song all the way to the end. And we played our hearts out. And we actually won some of them, because this one kid screamed and yelled and threw shit at me. And at the end, I looked down at him and he kind of smiled and shook his head. Okay. But it was called Initiation. But yeah, so that was our first experiences in tour. That's where the song Lost in Germany came from also.
Oh man, Doug, we salute you.
But I tell you what though, to add to that, to make it much better, I get your joke too. But to add to that though, as soon as we left Germany, we went to Paris, and Sam Taylor, our manager, he said, okay, Paris is really different. He said they'll all be there to watch the show, and he says either there'll be dead silence when you get done, or there'll be a standing ovation. He says you get one or the other. And I was just going, I can't do this again. It was like we were so glad to get out of Germany. And we got on stage and did our whole album, and we got a standing ovation in Paris, which I'll never forget, opening for AC/DC. That was the only time we ever got that kind of respect, but I'll never forget it. It was Paris. I love Paris.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so rad. I'm going to take just a quick break right quick, because we just want to thank a couple of the sponsors and endorsers of the show that allow us to continue doing what we do. We appreciate them so very much. So we really always want to take a second to thank Rock and Horror Apparel, Mark and Janet. They're TMS alumni. They did an episode with us. They're absolutely fantastic. rockandhorror.com. They clothe members of the Metal Summit, and we absolutely love what they do. Rosenfeld and Associates, njsmile.com, an award-winning dental program that take care of members of the Metal Summit. If you for any new fans that need to get some work done in that area, if you mention the show, if you mention TMS, it does unlock some discounts and bonus offers. So definitely something very awesome right there that David was very cool enough to implement. We absolutely want to thank Brad, Angie, and Dawn from BLE. We really appreciate them really getting down with us. They've got an event coming up headlined by Roxy Blue with members of the Metal Summit that'll be present at that show for sure. So go to blerocks.com for tickets for that show. That show is 100% going to happen on April 18th. And we also like to thank Darren Cadaver for Twisted Vines. Twisted Vines horror decor out of Rhode Island. She does all kinds of rad, creepy stuff. Homemade, like she makes Ouija boards, voodoo dolls, all kinds of creepy, very, very awesome stuff. We love her. She is absolutely fantastic. So we really, really appreciate those guys and girls for being involved with us and allowing us to bring this show to all the fans and have such badass guests like Doug with us tonight, man. And Doug, kicking it back to you. So the cool thing also about this show is it's a whole show made up of musicians. We literally have a drummer, a bass player, 2 guitar players, and Psycho Steve.
And
Like that's literally how everything is set up when it comes to this. But I really wanted to get to talk to you a little bit about your signature bass. Like I'm a bass player myself. I loved when you were talking about your sound and talking about the knobs on things, because my bass amp and the head on mine has got like 15 knobs on it. And I'm always like, God, why do I have so many knobs? It's so obnoxious. But you have a signature bass. You have a 12-string bass.
Jay,
I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I'd love Bobby, don't make me tell Doug to tell you to shut the fuck up again. But Doug, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. I mean, the average bass, that most people are familiar with, 4, 5, or 6 strings. Mm-hmm. I mean, you play one of your basses, you play 12 strings. Like, how does something like that come into play? And talk a little bit about it, because it's very unique.
Okay. If you put on Cheap Trick's first album and listen to the bass, that's a 12-string.
Right, Tom.
And I remember hearing that bass tone. I mean, I grew up in the Chicago area, and Cheap Trick came out of Chicago. They played clubs in Chicago, and before they got signed. So, there it is. We all, that was a very unique thing that he did. I didn't know hardly any bass players. I don't think I knew any bass players at that time around anyway. So it was the tone and everything about it was so cool. But that was just like, okay, he plays 12-string. That's interesting. Years later, because that was like in the early 70s. So 88. Oh, yeah, 88, we were touring with Cheap Trick. And I remember one day I was standing on the side of the stage, and they were getting ready to go on. Lights were going down, and Tom was standing next to me, and I says, dude, man, that 12-string things are so fucking cool. And he goes, dude, want to play it? And I'm going, dude, you got to go on stage. You go, no, that's okay. I'll be right here. And he took it off and put it on me. And I'm left-handed, so it was upside down. And I plunked on it a little bit. And it felt like this wonderful Martin 12-string acoustic guitar. It had this just beautiful feeling, and the sound, this just jangly, beautiful sound. And I go, dude, I gotta get one of them. And he said, call up Hamer, man, they'll make you one. And literally, he walked on stage. And I remember about 3 months later, we got a call from Hamer asking if Ty wanted to, if they could get Ty to try some of their guitars out. And I called the manager and said, hey, ask him if I could get some basses. Yeah. And I said, ask them if they'll make me a 12-string. And they made me 3 12-strings. And that's how that all happened. The other thing about the 12-string is I didn't use it as much as people think I did. The problem was every video we did back in the day, Sam made me use it in the videos. So it made it look like that's all I played. But on Dogman, the only time I used a 12-string was Human Behavior. And everybody thinks that's just regular, my 4-string. I was using a boogie head for the high end and an SVT for the low end. I remember Brendan took SVT head and the cabinet and put it in a closet and turned it wide open, and the whole building shook. And he mic'd it. It was so funny. That's how he got that tone. It was insane. Wow, yeah. For sure.
Do you have your 12-string? Do you have your 12-string accessible right now to show us?
I have. Hang on, I got to pull my headphones out, and I can get them. Hang on for a second.
No problem.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Bobby, shut the fuck up night. Oh, okay.
Doug started it, baby.
I didn't say anything.
Put my headphones back in first.
Pick up the Queen night.
Don't act like we don't love you, dude.
We love you.
Doug, we weren't talking about you. They're picking on the other homo.
Okay, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like, this is...
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
So badass, man.
That's a whole lot of strings.
Very cool.
Is that bass like your signature bass? Like, is that something that people would actually be able to acquire?
Anybody can do it if you get my pedal. But
Okay.
in my amp too. I mean, it's designed to get exactly my tone or anything else. Bobby can tell you all about it. But
Yes.
but if you don't want to use my pedal, I've always told everybody this is like Chris Squire did: get a SVT and get a Marshall, put them standing next side to each other, and plug in, turn them both up and balance it, and I EQ it until it makes sense to you. And after you understand that concept, then you get EQs, or maybe compress the low end and not the high end, or all kinds of stuff to find out what works for you. But that's the concept. It's literally 2 amps run together. That's why it kind of sounds like 2 things going at one time.
Are those
That's awesome.
Not
Is
to
your
step
bass
on
resale?
anybody. The only thing I'm going to bring up is the song Goldilocks.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that come from?
What's that got to do with 12 string?
It's everything, because you guys end the show.
Okay. I didn't use the 12 string. I didn't use the 12 string Goldilocks, and Ty wrote that song, and it's a beautiful song. And one night when we were doing it on our first tour, my rig went down like it did a lot back in the day, because it was a Frankenstein rig. And we couldn't get it running. So Ty said, somebody grab acoustic guitar. Somebody went to their car and brought acoustic guitar in. It was in Atlanta, Georgia, at a club. And they gave him the guitar, and he said, well, what do you want to start with? And I said, let's do Goldilocks. And he started playing it. And when I said, I can't believe, when I got to believe, the whole crowd was singing it. And at that point, that was the first time that had ever happened. And from that point on, we just let him sing it. So that's where that all came from. Ty wrote the song about a girl he saw in a bar in Houston called Cardi's. We used to go to all the time back before we got a record deal. And he said she was so beautiful, and she had blonde hair, and he was so afraid to go even say hi to her. And he came home and wrote a song, and she called her Goldilocks. I'd like to know who you are. I'd like to know. And that's that song. Okay. Awesome. And I didn't use the 12 string on it.
What? Love you.
Psycho Steve, I'm going to bring you in, brother. Real quick, Doug, is your bass available for resale? Like, is it available for purchase?
Yep. Both of my basses. I have another Doug bass, a 4-string.
Wait, you're selling your basses?
What?
Oh, yeah.
Would
Yeah.
that
It's
be
got
this?
an FO. It's got an FO. You want to see it? Let me hang on. Let me get it real quick.
Like on Marketplace or?
Hey, Doug, we love the F-hole.
I was like, trust me, my fingers might explode trying to play that 12-string bass, but I am not against getting a Doug Pinnick.
There's a lot of things that'll make you explode when you play this.
I'm sure, absolutely. I am not afraid to paint my screen white.
Doug, I'm actually in the market for a bass. How much you want for that?
Your Bob's scoring them for you.
This is my signature Doug bass.
Oh.
Nice.
That's the left-handed one.
Well, they're right-handed too. And it has an F-hole in it, so it's a lot lighter. And it's a little bright, just a little bit, and it clangs. You can get them both through Schecter. They've been selling them for a couple of years now, and a bunch of people have them. They're right-handed basses, but they're called Doug basses.
Right on, man. Absolutely. Cool. Psycho Steve, get back in here, brother. We need you to bring us back down to earth.
Okay. Totally separate subject. I got a couple of emails from a couple
Awesome.
fanboys.
Awesome. I like fanboys.
Yes. They want to know, 1, are you single? 2, what's your type?
I'm single. Sadly to say, and it's not sad anymore because I'm okay with it. I've never had anyone. I've never dated and never had a relationship. So I'm single. That's a long story that I probably should go to a psychiatrist and talk to about. we can talk about it in depth one day if you want to, but no, I'm single. At 70 years old, I'm almost like, I don't know if even I want it now. If it was in my face, I probably wouldn't see it. I know it came into my life many times as I look back on my life, but I was afraid. I'm a kind of guy that likes to give but don't like to receive. I'll fall for somebody that doesn't want me. I always fall for the one that can't give me back what I give them. I'm attracted to anyone who will leave me and hurt me. I'm just that. And it's sort of like I sabotage that because of my dysfunction of, the bottom line is, as a child, I had a traumatic experience that caused me to hate myself and not think that no one would love me or want me. So I question anybody I get close to, I question their love continually until I become like a psycho chick. So I've had to learn how to push it all aside and learn how to love people and let people be who they are and not try to force people into being something I need them to be or want them to be, like most psycho crazy people do. I'm one of those people. I get obsessed with people and it's like a drug. I can't do anything but think of them and be there no matter how good or bad it is. And I've always put myself in situations like that. And I've asked for it now that I look back and go, dude, dumbass, But the thing is, if the right one came along, I probably wouldn't notice it either because I just won't let anybody love me. It's like, I go, why won't you let somebody just care about you? And it's like, as soon as they want anything to do with me, like they really care, it's like, oh, I don't, I'm afraid, and I realize I see that now. So as a result of it, I kind of lost that thing where I used to get upset too. Before I turned 70, I used to go, dude, what did you do? You did this yourself. I used to blame everyone else for it before. Why doesn't anybody love me? And it's just because you fucking fuck it up, dumbass. And now I look back and go, well, that's what happened. And that's what, this is how it turned out. And I'm not going to look back at my life now and go, I wish I could have changed anything because I finally like who I am at 70. It's finally I got to 70 and I'm going, I got nothing to prove anymore. I've got nothing to hate anymore. And I look back at my life and go, I got nothing to cry about anymore. So it's it's interesting. And my mother died, which is a strange thing because the person who stopped me in my mind from my own ignorance of growing and being healthy enough to have a relationship is gone. And I realized that I'm not as bad as I thought I was and that she did love me, even though it took a lot of situations after she died for me to see it. And it healed me in many, many ways. And I know I'm kind of babbling again because I've been drinking. But so, no relationship.
Because I have a guide for you when you come to Jersey.
Ooh, okay.
So.
Well,
I'd
Psycho,
like to meet him.
remember, off the air, he said his type was Hal Sparks.
No. Listen, me and Hal have been friends forever. Hal is straighter than straight.
Yeah.
I love him because Hal loves me. You would think he was gay because the way he cares about me, you know what I mean? I love this. See, the thing about it's like straight guys, they feel safe around me, so they can be affectionate with me because they know that I'm not, I'm this gay guy. They feel safe, and I'm not gonna freak them out, and so that's why Chris kissed me on the lips, or all those guys, they're just really affectionate to me, and I smile and I see the love on their face that they have for me, and they're straight. So it's a beautiful thing, and that's I love that. But yeah, I'm open to meet somebody and hang out and have a good time with. Yeah.
Cool.
That one threw me off for a second, but I asked for it.
Yes.
Right on, man. Psycho, I'll keep it with you, man. You want to keep rolling?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
let's go.
So, you mentioned one of my dearest friends besides Hal. You mentioned Dimebag Darrell.
Yeah. Oh God.
One of my dearest friends. I was a pallbearer at his funeral.
Oh, I didn't know.
I was with him 4 days before it happened.
Mm.
Being as close as you were with him, living in Texas, you guys toured a bit together too. You guys played quite a few shows together.
No, we never toured ever together, but we were always at each other's shows.
Right.
And I mean, there'd be, Dime would come to King's X every time the whole band did. Every time we played Dallas, and anywhere they played, if I was there, I'd go see them. I've seen them in Germany, and they came to see us in, I think it was Finland. I think it was some club they had just played, and they came. We were opening for AC/DC, I think it was at that time, or the Scorpions or something. But yeah, we just were always good friends, and really, I think we influenced each other in many ways. I mean, I know Dime told me many King's X stories, and Rex too would tell me a lot of stories about listening to King's X, going to gigs, and some great compliments Dime would give me that I just don't want to babble about. But it was really great, and those guys were like so amazing as a band. And when we'd go see them at Cardi's at the clubs, back when they were doing power metal and stuff, it was just how the force and the power and the tightness that they played. They set a standard in Texas. I mean, King's X, King's X and Pantera. I mean, we both set a standard in that state, and I think it was a real good one. We pushed each other. I remember Dime and the whole band coming over to my house one time back. This was before the first album. I think Power Metal was out, and we were playing music for each other and demos and stuff, and down tuned. I was playing them a C-tune song, and we're all just just experimenting and laughing and having a good time and drinking after a Pantera show. I'll never forget that. Some good times. I regret not being able to go to the funeral. It was like we were making our last album, and I have a hard time with funerals. I'm just, and Rita called me and asked me to be a pallbearer also, and I just said it was like in 2 days, and I was in Nashville, and I just said I can't, and I just couldn't emotionally, just couldn't do it. So I regret that in some ways, but so Dime is still kind of alive to me in many, many ways. I saw Vinny not too long ago before he passed too. He came to a King's X show and hung out, and we talked about Dime for a while. It was really cool. It was about 2 weeks before he died, I think it was.
Wow. Did you guys ever record together?
Yeah, we did. Me and Dime did a song called Born on a Bad Sign. It's up on YouTube actually somewhere. It's just Doug and Dime doing Born of. It was a birthday. No, it was a thing. I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. It was a New Year's Eve party. Okay. No, sorry, Christmas Eve party. Dime's annual Christmas Eve party.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Okay, Dogman record had just come out, I think it was. I'm driving to Chicago from Houston, and I stopped through Dallas to stop off at his a Christmas Eve party. Right. And I go in, the house is full of people. Everybody's partying. Christmas tree's huge. Presents piled up to the ceilings, hundreds of them. That's Dime. Every year, Dime bought hundreds of presents for everybody. There was hardly anywhere to walk. We finally got to this big room where everybody's partying, everybody's drinking. Vinny walks in with not a sandwich size, but a jumbo sandwich size bag of ecstasy, passing it out to everybody. It was a love fest. Everybody was just happy and having a great time. And we were having a good time. And then Dime says, "Doug, can you sing on my song?" He says, he said, I recorded this song with the drum machine. Will you do it? And so he took me in this garage, which was the studio next to the house. And I sang Born Under a Bad Sign, which he had already recorded. And it was a fun time. And it was so exciting because, okay, can you imagine everybody's on X and a kind of like a looked up rock star is singing a fucking song. They lost their fucking minds. They were running around bug-eyed, crying, all kinds of stuff. It was beautiful. I'll never forget it. And then I remember I left and headed to Chicago. Now, what was my point? I don't know. It was just a story of Dime and the family.
Yeah. Wow. Just a question about if you recorded with Dime.
Oh, that's right. We did. So we recorded with him, and it's up on YouTube. Thank you. I lost it on that one. Woo, Alzheimer's.
Oh, you're all good, brother. No worries. Absolutely. Jason, let's kick it up to you, brother.
So really quick, Doug.
Yeah.
So you're telling me, where'd you go?
Yeah, I'm there. There you are. Can you see me? Okay.
Yeah. So you're telling me that that when I was going to my neighbor's house growing up for the Christmas Eve party that they had every year.
You're Jewish.
Dime. No, I know. All of us were Jewish. It was a Christmas Eve party, but all of us were Jewish. It was very strange, but it was really awesome. But anyway, Dime was having those Christmas parties also.
Yeah.
In retrospect, it blows my mind. I mean, but
they were crazy. I tell you another quick story. He took me to his bedroom. Dig this. I think the first record was out at this point, and they were still living with their mom, and Dime was still sleeping in his room that he's been in since he was a teenager. He took me into his room and said, "Dude, Dime always made you promise to do something before he'd tell you what he was going to do." He was, and he would badger me until I go, okay, I'll do it. He walked me into his bedroom and he closed the door. And the back of the door was, for the last 10 years, whoever came in that door spit a Luger on the door. He had 10 years of Luger on the door, and he made me spit on that door. It was the grossest thing I ever seen in my life.
Oh wow!
That guy, he was. Oh, I remember
with a lot of fetish people, but that's creepy.
Dan was just crazy. He was a lot of fun. I loved him.
You signed the bathroom.
Oh, dude! I remember Dan would call me I would be in my bed sleeping, and he'd be on the road in Pantera, and also like 6 a.m, the phone would ring. And, back in the day, we didn't have cell phones. We just had those answer machines. And I'd say, "Hey, Doug, this is Doug." And I wouldn't answer the phone. It's like 5 or 6 a.m. And all of a sudden, "Doug, this is Dime. We got something we want to do. Wait, hold up." And all of a sudden, he'd get everybody on the bus to start singing the Kxm song. And by the time they got to, "I can't keep on," whoa! That everybody started howling like they were wolves, just screaming. They were so drunk. He never could sing a Kxm song to us because they'd start screaming and yelling. And I remember then one time he said, "Doug, you got to meet our bus driver. What was his name? Winkins, something Winkins. Wait, I forget his name now. But he said, "Doug, I'm drunk as I can be. I'm driving this bus. I always get him there, but I'm driving blind. But we always get there." I'm going, "Dude, okay, see you later." And they hung the phone up. It was like, whoa. They never stopped partying. I mean, the bus driver was blind drunk, he said. Driving.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So I just want to switch gears a little bit. I
can tell Pantera. I can tell Pantera stories all day.
Yeah. So I did some research and I know that a big part of your experience was no pun intended, Jimi Hendrix and
Yeah.
Sly and the Family Stone, which, by the way, I love that song, Family Affair.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's one of my favorites out of the whole world.
I love it, love it, love it. I've been listening to it since I was a teenager. But have you ever met either of them or anyone that you've looked up to in music?
Okay. Buddy Miles is Sly and the Family Stone. I got a couple stories to tell. I hope I can tell them, not take too long. But I want to answer one other question to backtrack a little bit. Somebody said, "What's my type?" I like them skinny grease monkeys. Like, I like them white, skinny, toned, tattooed grease boys like to work on cars. A little bit of hair, you know. I don't like them smooth, don't shave. I mean, I like them a little grubby. Them grubby boys. Oh,
I feel like
dark
if you
hair.
put tattoos on Billy Joel in the Uptown Girl video, there's Doug's type.
Nah, not Billy Joel. I would say, let me think.
I'll scrap the dude I had for you.
Well, I tell you who I really think is hot is God, he's a Jewish guy too. What's his name? He's got a hook nose. He's got a hook nose.
I got two of them on the show.
He's
Psycho
got a hook
Steve?
nose. He's a movie star. He's got a hook nose. Adrian
Brody?
Yeah.
Oh, Adrian Brody. Wow.
I like Adrian. I mean, he's not what people would think I like, but I like them guys with them hook noses. Them cute Jewish boys look cute, you know.
Wow.
No, I you know.
Bottom.
Hey, I may have not had a relationship, but I know what I like.
I know
Okay.
what boys
All right.
like.
Let's get back to Sly and the Family Stone. I love Sly and the Family Stone so much that when Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself came out, I bought that 45. I was living with my mom in the projects. And I would put that song on my record player, which it was a repeat. So it'd go play and move over the needle, we'd get up and come back and play again. That was in the 60s. I would wake up and put it on, and I would turn it off when I went to sleep. That song played over and over and over. And one day I came home and I couldn't find it. And my cousin had come over and hid it. She hid it for like 3 days. Then she gave it back to me. But I was so obsessed with that song. I still, I could tell you every little thing, even Sly clearing his throat in time before he came into the third verse. Sly and Family Stone, I was obsessed with that goddamn band. The first time I heard him was I was 14. I was in my bed sleeping, and I had a little radio that had one little. Remember that back in the day we had the one little headphone that you stuck in your ear, and it went to your little little radio, and all you could get was WLS radio station, AM radio. And this song comes on called "Dance to the Music," and I'm listening to it, and it sounded like the Staple Singers. It sounded like all the people that I used to listen to growing up, the thing that moved me when I was a kid. And as I listened to it, I just became obsessed with it. What I realized later on growing up was Sly and the Family Stone sounded like the Staple Singers on 12. And that's why I liked them. If you go back and listen to Staple Singers and Sly and the Family Stone, it's like the grandkids, It's just, they got amps and got the whole, they went full blown on it. So I felt the connection. Mavis Staples, the way she sings and the way Sly's little sister sings, the same. And Sly grew up listening to the Staple Singers. His whole family did. So when they sang, they had that vocal sensibility that the Staple Singers did. And it was something that I remembered more than anything else that I listened to in music, because the connection was so strong. And because I liked aggressive music, they took something that I had loved as a child and gave me goosebumps with it and made it push it harder. So it changed everything for me. And as for the band themselves, Buddy Miles is another one of my favorite musicians. I learned I would sing everything he sang, every riff, and I had in fact, when I first played bass, the first song I learned how to play was Joe Tex by Buddy Miles. And that was one of my favorite songs by him. Okay, so those two bands were running around about the same time. Buddy Miles was having he died 20 years ago now, and his wife was having a memorial party for him in Austin. I was invited to go sing some cover tunes before the main acts came on, which was Billy Cox and some just old time friends and buddies who were going to be playing. Well, so I was in Houston. I got my car, and as soon as I got my car, something said to me, "Take your bass with you." I'm just going to sing. No, take your bass with you. And I threw it in the back of my car. I got there and found out that Billy Cox wasn't going to come, and there was no other bass player to play. And I know every Buddy Miles song, and I know every Sly song. And all of a sudden, I'm on stage playing Buddy Miles songs with his band. And I don't know there was no bass player. I don't know why Buddy didn't have a bass player in the band, but there was no bass player with me. So I'm playing these songs that I know, having a great time. And all of a sudden, I look around and Gregorico comes in and gets on the drums, and Cynthia and Jerry come in. And they are on the other side of the stage with the trumpet and saxophone. And they said, let's do some Sly songs. And they did every Sly song. Thank God, every Sly song that I knew. They did 5 songs: "Want to Take You Higher," "Dance to the Music," "Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again," and what was it? "Everyday People." And I'm standing next to Gregorico, and it was like surreal. And when the horns came in, I looked over and went, this is really happening. A guy has a picture of me, and I don't know where the picture is now, but I've never seen myself grinning so hard in my life. It was so much fun. And Cynthia came to me later and she gave me a good compliment, and she said I was a really good bass player. And all I did was Larry Graham. I did Larry Graham the best I fucking could. And I remember also, to add to that, we're on stage at this small little place in a backyard, almost kind of like a bar where it was outside and stuff. And the bass rig, I'm a loud bass player. And there was one, just a shitty little, what is it? I forgot what it was. And I kept turning it up, and Salman kept telling me to turn down. By the time we got done playing, I had it on 10. I was so fucking loud. But the cool thing about it was right where it was supposed to be, people said, because, Salman never put the bass in where it's supposed to be anyway. But I couldn't turn down. I had to turn that shit up and have fun. And just, God, I never get over it. I wish there is footage of it, and I've never been able to find it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? I've only owned one bass in my life, and I'm looking for another one right now. And I'm a guitar player, actually. And what's interesting is
you need a dUg bass.
What?
You need a dUg bass.
Oh yeah. I'm
you
definitely
do.
gonna look that up.
I'll get you.
All right.
We'll work it out.
All right. Cool. So one thing that I've noticed, and tell me if you agree or not, but Motown music basically is the base of the ground floor is bass, the bass guitar.
Yeah,
it's just bass guitar is what makes Motown.
Yeah,
and it took
Motown
me a while to realize that.
And Stax Votes.
I love Motown music. It's been part of my life. Like my parents and they introduced me to it, and I just love it.
Don't forget the Memphis sound. It was the same time frame.
Okay.
Sam and Dave and
Sam
Wilson
and Dave.
Pickett.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't Motown. That was the Memphis sound, and that was Donald Duck Dunn playing bass on that. But still, it was.
Wait a minute. Sam and Dave is like they do that song that
Hold
the
on,
Blues Brothers do.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't on Motown. Remember, in the 60s, there was 2 different sectors of black music happening. There was one in the South called the Memphis sound, and the other was in the North called the Detroit sound.
Okay.
Both ran neck and neck. Both had the same, like Carla Thomas and Rufus Thomas and Booker T and the MGs, all that stuff. They were the Memphis sound, and then you got the Temptations, all those bands. They were the other sound. They were two different vibes. The Southern one was more bluesy. They were more urban in the South. And Motown was more. Berry Gordy Jr. wanted to clean up the appearance of Black people because in America, white people thought the common thought of Black people from white people in America was we were dirty, we didn't work, we were lazy, we didn't keep ourselves. And so Berry Gordy Jr. said, no, my people are going to look like up and up Black people, and that's why everybody had suits and they wore the gowns and stuff. It was they were trying to make a statement that Black people aren't like you think we are, because that's what white people thought of us back then. There was nobody on TV but Steppa the Fetching and a Black lady who was usually the maid, you know. So and then you had the Little Rascals. And you know,
well,
Buckwheat.
I don't want to get too much into it, but from what I understand, I did
go off that
one. No, listen. From what I understand, back in the day, I think Black artists were not allowed to be on the cover of their albums.
Nah, they weren't.
And and I think Elvis Presley stole a lot of the style of music.
Well, Elvis said
to bring
Elvis
it
said that
to the white audience.
Elvis said that country music and blues was his favorite music. He said he would go to these little dive bars as a kid and stand out in the back at the door and listen to the music.
Yeah,
you know, he really did that. But you know, that's a whole nother story here where what happens in rock music and in music in general, Black people have started genre and they do okay with it, but then it takes a white person to come along and introduce it to white people. And that's the way it always has been. Elvis introduced white people to rock music. I mean, to Black people music, and the Beatles did the same thing, you know, and they made it their own, and it created a change in the world. That's what we all do. And that, you know, it's a cool thing, I think. You know, I mean, a lot of Black people think that white people stole rock music. You know, I'm going, that's bullshit, you know.
Well, everything originated from jazz anyway. So.
Yeah, from jazz, from classical, from bluegrass, from Jesus.
Yeah. You know, just think this notes
and music from the underground.
Yeah.
You can't forget music from the underground.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Gregorian chants, you know.
Oh, 100% for sure. So fans, I'm about to kick it down to Angel, but I do want to let you guys know that it is last call for alcohol there, fans. Any final comments or questions that you want to hit Doug with, get them into the comments. That way Angel can read it off. Angel, real quick, before I kick it down to you, because I wanted to piggyback right quick off of Jason, because I kind of liked the style of music that he was talking about. So Doug, just a quick one for you. Did you have any kind of relationship or get to meet like Rick James? Like, speaking of like those type of like, you know, in the public eye, you know, bass aggressive type performers. Did you have any relationship with Rick?
No, not at all. The only guy I really met out of all that, it was Bootsy. Every time I see Bootsy, he always says he's going to give me a buzz or wants my number or something, but we never hook up. But he always make sure that he has my information, and which I like that. George Clinton, a couple years ago, I actually took my solo band. I put a Pound Town band together and opened for Parliament Funkadelic for a JBL party one time, which was fun, and I hung with him for a second, and that was cool. Other than that, what was the question?
I was just curious if you had any kind of professional relationship with Rick James.
Yeah. No.
Gotcha, man. Not a problem at all. Angel, it's all you, buddy. Take it away.
Sure. Excuse me. David Rosenfeld wants to know, do you miss the fans live?
The fans live?
Yeah. Do you miss live performances?
I do miss live performances. and I'm looking forward to going back out. And I feel two ways about it too, because at 70 years old, I just I don't want to be that old guy up there. So, I think about that a lot. And I always used to laugh and say I'll probably die on stage. So I might as well just get over it. But right now, I've been home for so long. I'm out of shape. I feel like, oh my God, can I get through another show? I remember I was in there singing the song, tracking the song, and I was out of breath. And I'm going, I gotta get like Mick Jagger and start jogging and singing, But so I do miss touring. And I don't miss touring because touring isn't fun anymore like it used to be when I was younger. But I love playing for people, and I do love it walking on stage and seeing those smiling faces and to play music that they want to hear. The one thing I want to say though is I really, really, with King's X, is we finally decided we're now going to go out next tour and do the same song, the same set we've been doing for the last 20 years. We've been doing the same set for probably 20 years. We haven't changed it. We don't live with each other and we don't rehearse. And and our fans have forgiven us for it. But, we got a new record coming out, and we got to come back and make people smile and not just do the same old thing. So just to say that, we know. A lot of people complain, man, when are you going to change the set? We know.
Brian wants to know, how has your setup changed over the years?
When I first started, I just used a Fender head and in a cabinet, and in a Ampeg head in a cabinet, just like what I saw Chris Squire do. And then after that, I started getting EQs and compressors and speaker emulators, and before you know it, I had that infamous Frankenstein rig, the 2 racks of just craziness, where I would EQ. I'd have pedals, and I would EQ into the amp and out into another amp, and I'd EQ before and after and compressed in places where you shouldn't. Till the signal flow was stupid, but that's how I got the sound, and it always broke down a lot. And through the years, I started honing in on it. But it still was always a struggle to keep it up and running, because I was running things into things that I didn't need to, or ohms would be wrong because I don't read. I just plug things in. If it sounds right, it sounds right. But when and this is years and years and years and years. But when Tech 21 came along and asked if we could make a amp, I showed them everything that I did, all the EQs and how I did it. And they basically made an amp with that sort of circuitry, that the way I did it, and they made it work. And that's how we did it. The way I got my tone originally was before I started using 2 amps. I bought this amp called Trainer. It was a Trainer YB100. And I had this folded cabinet. It was an acoustic cabinet with an 18 in it, but it was face backwards. And this Trainer amp had no bottom. It just had this crystally clear high end that was beautiful. But when I plugged it into the cabinet, for some reason, a 18-inch speaker that's facing backwards will give you 3 times more low end. So it gave me a little more low end. And that's literally what I played through in King's X Sneak Preview The Edge until we got a record deal. And that's when I started getting the bi-amp, when we had money to do that. But before that, I only used 1 amp, but it had that sound, just not very much low end.
Okay. Al wants to know, is there going to be another Kxm album?
Yeah. Usually the first 3 records, we get into a room and we just beat out songs for a couple of days. And then I take my part home and write lyrics, and George goes home and hones in on his guitar parts. But when we first make a record, when we get the song down, Ray puts a drums part down that he's going to keep, that he's good with, and then we take the rest home and build upon it. We got a new record we're working on. Basically, they're jamming together, making up stuff, and they're gonna send it to me, and I'm gonna put my bass on it, and I'm gonna find out, So we're kind of faxing the record back and forth, but that's kind of the way we do it anyway. But we're just with each other. We're just not in the same room together this time. And so they threw it at me. I ain't got time yet, but they're on it, and they've got some stuff. So it's gonna happen. I would say maybe a year, because my solo record is coming out in about 90 days. I finished that, and Ty's got a solo record coming out probably around the same time on Rat Pack Records. We're getting that finalized. And King's X is still getting that record mixed. So I don't have time to do a KXM yet, but it's coming. And it is going to come. Oh yeah, don't worry. It's going to be fun. I just got to think of things to sing about. It's like, wow, I've been writing lyrics for fucking 60 years. It's like, what can I sing about? Oh, the car's riding down the street. It had a flat tire. I hope they're okay. Or sing about some fucking igloo coolers or something, It's
Hey,
like,
you know what, Doug? If you put that behind good music, it doesn't matter anymore these days.
I know. What can we do? Go ahead.
Scott Bacon, the last fan question of the night.
Hey, Scott.
He wants to know, do you have any plans to work with Satriani and Aronoff again?
Yeah, we have talked about making a record. We actually had a couple rehearsals about a year ago before the pandemic. Kenny, all three of us are really, really busy, and we've got a lot on our plates. But we have committed to making a record together. But at this point, no one is really having any discussions because everyone's really, really busy doing their own thing. But yeah, we talked about it, and we did 2 rehearsals actually.
And my question is, what's the most difficult thing about being on the road?
For me, the most difficult thing is not having a shithole when you want it. That's about it. I'm okay with everything else. Playing clubs that have crappy dressing rooms, playing Europe. A lot of the dressing rooms are like, they're unbelievable. But then on the other hand, Europe always has showers. And America doesn't have very many showers in the dressing rooms. And I love to take a shower after a show. So, it has that's something I don't like. But other than that, mainly, I just love touring. It's a lot of fun. It's you crawl in your bunk. It's a party a lot. We drink a lot of wine. We stay up late laughing, listening to music, and and so yeah, touring is a lot of it. We don't tour a lot anymore on a bus. I think that we're just older and we just ain't young anymore. It ain't fun. But we fly to shows. We do weekends. We go to a hotel. We play there. We play the show. Then we rent a car. When the road crew has a U-Haul, and they bring everything, so we're all good. But we go to hotels, which is a lot easier. I can get up in the morning and go have breakfast and work out and go back to the room, and by 3 o'clock go do sound check. So it's a lot easier. It's a lot of less shows. But at our age, it doesn't wear you out. And we make the same amount of money doing a weekend that we would if we did a whole month of shows, because it's just, tour buses and everything else. It just doesn't pan out. So, that's a lot. I forgot what the question was.
No, that was the question. What's the toughest part about touring?
Man, you drink wine, you stay up late, and you make the green room green, baby.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we do.
Yes, and you're playing for people that want to hear you. People want to hear what you have to say. Well, it's so nice to be able to talk about yourself to people who want to hear about you. It's like, I tell people I'm lucky because everybody wants to talk about themselves, but not all of us get to do that. And so it's I don't take a second for granted. I make fun of a lot, you know, but I don't take a second for granted. And it's important to realize that. And the reason I say that is because I think I used to take everything for granted because I hated myself so much, and I disliked everything about me that I couldn't see my self-worth or what I was doing or how it affected people. Well, you know, when I see someone cry, I go, "Why are you crying?" You know, I just whatever. It wasn't like, "Oh my God," you know. It's like, but now I see that I got out of that place of me, and I see look what you're doing, Doug, while you're focused on yourself. Come on, wake up, you know, smell the roses and be appreciative, you know. And all of a sudden life I don't know. Life is good. Even when people talk about when they ask if I ever had a relationship, I'm loved so much that I'm not lonely. People care about me so much and let me know it 24 hours a day from all over the world. And it's not just fans, it's people that I've connected with and I've known forever from my childhood on up. It's like, it's a good thing. Life can be full circle if you just hang in there and be open enough to learn, you know, and then be willing to take instruction and to let someone tell you who they see that you are. Absolutely. You know, let them tell you. Don't feel bad and feel like, oh my God, you're hurting me. No, whenever someone says something about me that's negative, no matter what it is, I stop and go, wow, am I like that? Let me think about that.
It's constructive criticism.
Yeah. You go, wow. Yeah. And then you start going, man, you start apologizing. You start treating people different or something. You know, it's like, wow, I should lighten up on that person. Maybe I make fun of him too much and that really hurts him. And I thought I was just joking, man, dude, what are you thinking? You know, it's just so much to find out a friendship. You know, I wrote a song about it so long ago, but now I just really realized it in the last few years of my life that it's very important. It's an art. You got to learn how to get along with people.
100%. Well, let's bring in somebody that we know loves you.
Come on in here.
Bring you back in to kick off this final round.
All right. Question of being a singer. Do you sing in the shower?
Do I shower?
No. Do you sing in the shower?
Oh, no. No, I don't. I can't. No, I never did sing in the shower. I used to. Put it this way: I don't sing in the shower because before I was told to stop, I sang all the time, anywhere, everywhere. It didn't matter. I had no gauge of where to shut up. And people would. I mean, literally, if a song came on, I sang the whole song at the top of my lungs in a room with people. I mean, I just didn't realize that I was being that obnoxious. Literally. I sang so much. It was like, that's all I did. And it probably got on people's nerves. My mother said one time when I was 16, she said, Douglas, will you quit that bellowing? You can't sing anyway. She was tired of hearing me sing. And I did take, she's not alive now, but she will tell you that she kind of screwed me up because I've never liked my voice from that day on. And I've always been very critical of it. But yeah, so yeah, sing in the shower, sing in front of somebody, hell yeah.
Right on, man. That's awesome. Jason, let me kick it up to you, buddy. Final question from yourself?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Jason.
Awesome. I'm gonna roll a joint in a minute.
It's legal now, at least in New Jersey.
Well, I'm in California, so
he's good.
Good. That's good in New Jersey because I have friends who freak out. They want it to happen bad.
So let's see. I know we were talking earlier about the 12-string bass and basses and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on here's a couple questions. One is really quick. You can answer it really quickly. Your 12-string bass, that's like two harmonic strings, right?
It's
not
two regular
officially 12 string. It's officially 12 strings, but it's not like
yeah. You
12
play it like a four
strings.
string. You play it like a four string. There's three strings to a note.
Okay.
You have a regular bass string, and then you have two guitar strings. Basically.
Okay, right. That's how I saw it.
Yes, and they're in octaves. But the two high strings are in unison.
Okay, so my question, it leads into my question about what about like I've seen people play with like 15 strings or 20 strings or something like that, crazy ridiculous stuff like that, where the neck is like this thick, you know. I mean, have you ever attempted anything like that, or
No.
No,
No, I don't even know. It's something that it's something that I can't say I like or dislike. It's something that it really has just, it does. It's like over there someplace that I don't even turn my head.
Yeah, the deepest, dude, the deepest string is like that thick. It's
crazy.
Like,
if you can't hear it, why? No, well, the thing is, I just haven't, what I'm trying to say is I have absolutely no use for it, to listen to it, to look at it, to be curious about it, even though it might change my life.
Yeah.
How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying I am not interested. But it could change my life. That's what I'm saying. I'm a dumbass.
Because I know there's like, it's crazy. Like, I don't even know how, like, I can't imagine
dude, like,
being a play, like.
But you know, the thing is, it's not the instrument as much as, can you bring me a great song that's going to change my life with that instrument? That's why I look at it. I mean, okay, you got 28 strings. Can you give me something that's going to give me goosebumps and go, I want to get one? You know, can you do that? If you can do that, then you got something.
I mean, they're not really that popular. They're not really that popular. So I'm thinking the main answer across the board is probably no.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got a point there. You definitely have a point there. All right.
Music's so deep.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The last thing that I wanted to ask of you, Doug, was honestly was simple enough. What's the backstory behind the name Kxm?
Our manager Sam Taylor said, "Sneak Preview is a stupid name. You got a record deal. We've got to change the name." So we all threw in as many names as we could until it got so stupid that we were on the floor laughing and screaming. And Sam said Kxm, and we all went yuck. And Sam and we couldn't come up with anything, and we couldn't agree upon anything. And Sam kept pushing Kxm. And what it was his brother had a band in the 60s called Kxm. Kxm in Texas means heads up, or if somebody walks in the room and whistles, everybody stops, you know, or somebody says, "Hey, everybody shut up." Well, in Texas, you go, "Kxm," and everybody shuts up. And that's what it means. And so Sam said, "Why don't you call yourself Kxm?" Go, "What the fuck is that?" And he says, "This is what it means. It has a meaning, and it's blah, 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 and it's Texas." And Sam Taylor really pushed the Texas thing on our band, because he said, if you talk about Texas all through your career, about being from Texas and stay loyal to Texas, they will never forget you, like ZZ Top. And Sam wanted us to be ZZ Top's little brother, because Sam Taylor was Bill Ham's first cousin, and they hated each other. And Sam tried to use Kxm to whip ZZ Top with his cousin. And, you know, come on, it was ZZ Top, and we were 30 years later. But that's another story in itself.
Right on,
we'll talk about that one next time, okay?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And Angel, anything final from yourself, buddy, or have any final questions popped up from the fans?
Carl Walker wants to know, will Kxm ever put out a live DVD?
If we ever do a live show, you know we will, because that's probably the only time we'll do it. We're so everything, you know, it is a side project where raised with Korn, and Korn is either in the studio, in fact they're in the studio right now, or they're on the road. They're always on the road. Rain never has a second. So we were going to do a tour, and actually the Korn management had booked the tour, or we're not had booked it, but we're working on a tour. And for some terrible reason, our KXM record and Korn's record came out on the same day. That is a conflict of interest, and legally is just a bad thing. And our tour got canceled because of it. And we had nothing to do with it. It was just a mistake. But in a business, when there's something that important going on, you don't do that. So that was the only tour we were going to do, and that got stopped before we ever got it off the ground. Not to say anything bad about anybody. This is business, if you understand. Things, you don't do that. I would never put out a solo record on the same day King's X put a record out. You don't do that.
Did you just say Korn?
It was a mistake. Huh? Yeah, and especially Korn. Come on. Yes.
Like Jonathan Davis?
Korn.
Okay, all right.
Korn, yeah. So, but that's all good. But we hope to tour later on someday. But right now, we ain't got time. I got King's X and Ray's back out with those guys doing the thing. Ray's in the studio right now. No, they're rehearsing right now in Bakersfield.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, because Ray called us a couple of days ago and said, "Hey, man, I can come into town. We can work on some hash out a couple songs. I can take a day off," but George can't do it. Ray is a workaholic, man. That guy, dude. We did the breakout video. He started out before the sun came up, finished his part of the video, and left to do a video to rehearse with Korn that afternoon in Bakersfield. It's like the guy, I don't know who he does no drugs. He's just 100 miles an hour. Wish I was like that.
Right on.
All right, sorry.
No, you're fine, brother. Angel, anything to finish up?
Nope.
No, totally cool, man. Absolutely. Well, Doug, we really appreciate you spending your evening with us, man. It was really insightful. It was so much fun, dude. Like, we really had a good time. And
awesome.
Honestly, it was really educational, man. I mean, you have so much knowledge. You brought so much to the forefront that we really never heard before. So we really appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Awesome.
Absolutely. Well, you're welcome back anytime that you want, man. We can't wait for the new King's X album. Congratulations on your upcoming solo album. And
Thanks.
For the KXM fans, definitely stay tuned for that, because you heard it right here. It'll definitely happen.
Awesome.
As a final thing, for anybody that's looking for you, Doug, where can they find you?
You can go to DUGNation.net. That's where all things Doug is. And then Facebook, Doug Pinnick. Just Google Doug Pinnick. It's kind of crazy. It's scary, actually. Actually, Google yourself. It's crazy. But so yeah, I can be easily found.
Awesome, man. Right on, for sure.
Wait a minute, really quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, really quick, Doug. I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever attempted to do the Dougie?
A what?
Have you ever attempted to do the Dougie?
What's that?
It's a dance. All right.
I've never heard of it.
Know what it is.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
So, fans, this was Jason Perlswig's last show because he just got the fire. Okay.
No, it's all good. We're a fun-loving bunch, man. But again, Doug, thank you so much, man, for sure, man. We really appreciated everything. And Metal Summoners, we love you guys so much. All of Doug's fans, we appreciate you guys tuning in as well. Hit us up on all of our socials. Go to YouTube for all of our interviews. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Definitely like and follow the Facebook page where we go live every single week. We're on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, all those crazy sites. Literally, the Metal Summit across the board, fans. We can absolutely always be found. So definitely hit up those socials so you always know what we've got going for you. We got our next guest announcement on Friday. Going to be a great one as always. We're very excited. But again, for the Metal Summit, for Bobby Dreyer, for the Psycho Steve, for Angel Alamo, Jason Prosweig, I'm Jay. And again, thank you so much, Doug Pinnick. You have yourself a great evening. Metal Summoners, we love you. We'll see you guys next week. As always, you've been watching the Metal Summit.
And Bobby will be awake next week.